Coming up in moments, Craig, the Obamacare lawyer, with a sober, nonpartisan analysis of where is Obamacare and where might it be going as premiums, which had skyrocketed last year, skyrocketed again. And the deductibles rising and choices declining, the rest of it.
A lot of pundits think that the Obamacare news last week is behind a lot of the movement in the polls, more so than the emails even.
That is an interesting point.
Yeah. Stay tuned. You're listening to the Armstrong and Getty Show. Welcome to the Armstrong and Getty Show. So most people agree that Hillary had maybe her worst week, 10 days of the entire election. And part of it was because of the Obamacare news that came out that premiums were going up so much, right? And
that was a huge factor.
And it was a big news story. It got a lot of coverage. The pushback was that people don't understand. It only applies to blah, blah, blah. They'll be picked up by the taxpayer, which is the rest of us.
Right, yeah. Craig, the Obamacare lawyer, joins us. Craig Gottwals is an expert in benefits and helps companies deal with all the rather important issues of how to give benefits to their people, et cetera, et cetera. The point being that Craig is not a partisan, he's not a political guy. He's a guy who just has to understand health care and benefits and advises clients about it. Hello, Craig. How are you, sir?
Good morning, Joe and Jack.
Sorry to hear the bass fishing has been a little weak lately, but we'll see if we can abuse some fish in the near future.
The big rains will stir up our reservoirs and get them chewing again.
Excellent. That's now that's out of the way.
Because I know you want to go rip some lips.
Oh boy, that expression is just the animal rights people do not like that expression.
I don't like it.
I'd ask you not to use it anymore. All right,
that is rough.
He is a nonpartisan, but he is a fish abuser. So listen, the premiums are going up. We hear. How bad is it?
Yeah, well, if only somebody had called into your show 5 years ago and told you what was going to happen. You know, it would be interesting. But,
yeah.
August we spoke last, and I told you guys we were looking at 18 to 23% increases in the exchanges, and the results are in, and it's the high end of my projection. We're more like 23 to 25% increases in the Obamacare exchanges nationwide, and as backed up by the administration itself, came out and said, "Yeah, that's true."
Why is it going up like that?
Well, two huge facts. We now know that Obamacare enrollees are 22% more expensive than people who are covered through employer plans.
Why?
Again, big surprise. People that didn't have insurance for years and weren't getting treatment sign up. They get taxpayer subsidies. They sign up. They use it, and they use it.
Okay, so
abandon, right?
Yeah, older and sicker in a lot of cases.
Yeah, and the Medicaid expansion, because remember, half of Obamacare, basically half of our covered people is through an expansion of Medicaid, which is the low-income health care we have in the government. Those people are 50% more expensive than originally projected. So it was a huge hit to the administration. And again, you might ask why. And the real why on this is, as we've talked about over the years, as bad as Obamacare is and as tough as it is for some people to swallow, the only way for it to really work would be if you literally tripled the penalties for the individual and employer mandate and probably doubled the subsidies. Because the problem we have is the young and the healthy aren't signing up. Well, why aren't they signing up? Because the penalty's not big enough. It's 2% of your household income. It probably needs to be 7 or 8% of your household income to actually make these people sign up. And then remember also, if you were somebody who, you're going to sign up, then you realize there's 32 exemptions to the individual mandate. So you're just not getting those young, healthy people to sign up. You're only getting the old and sick. And it's just absolutely crushing the actuarials on this thing, and you're getting the cost spirals as we projected, but maybe even worse in some cases, frankly. I mean, you've got certain states where it's up 100%.
By the way, whenever we talk about Medicaid, just throw it in very quickly that the CLA, wasn't it? The study that said outcomes.
No, that was actually a multi-pronged government-funded study, but it was on the state of Oregon's Medicaid program, where they looked at it over, I think it was a 10-year period, and they concluded ultimately that wow, when you're on Medicaid, coverage is so poor, so sporadic, you have so few providers that most of your major health outcomes literally do not improve at all. So
right.
You could summarize by saying Medicaid almost does nothing.
Well, and one big study said your outcomes are worse if you have Medicaid than if you have no insurance, which is just shocking. Jack,
yeah,
you had a
that's true.
comment?
So the political response to that news that you were just talking about last week from the Democrats was, well, this is being misreported. This is not for everybody. This is just for people that are doing the Obamacare exchange. Most of us have insurance through, our employers. That sort of thing, like I do. But my insurance is more expensive than it was before Obamacare came along, and my deductible is way higher. It's not even close. Is that because of the passage of Obamacare? Have I been affected by Obamacare?
Yeah, you have. It's probably not as draconian as you might personally be feeling, because what basically is happening through all the employer market is our costs are up like 7 or 8% in the employer market. Without Obamacare, that would probably be more like 5%, right? So it's definitely trickling down, but it's not quite as dramatic. It will be, though, Jack. It will be more dramatic next year and in future years, because some of the bailout mechanisms that were built into Obamacare expire this year. And so we're just seeing the beginning of this sort of cresting of premiums. It's going to get worse next year because any insurers that are left are going to have to tap employer plans to try and cover their losses on the exchange plan.
I see. Okay, well, listen, I want to get more into why it's failing for a couple of minutes, and then would love to hear where you think it's all going. But I've read your analysis of why it's failing, and it's great. Talk to us.
So tuning back to 2009, we basically had a very disjointed healthcare system, federally speaking. We had 4 major programs: Medicare, that's for the oldsters; Medicaid for low income. We had the VA, which we know is not working well. And then we had the TRICARE program, which is for active military and their family. Then that's just the government. Then you had, for employers, you had a large group market, small group market, and then you had an individual market. None of these worked well together, and each one of them was regulated by 50 different states. So we had a broken system that was costing too much, and everybody said, in essence, the government ought to do something, right? The cry that makes libertarians run for the hills. Well, the problem was, despite the fact that it wasn't working well, most people that had coverage actually liked what they had. So politically speaking, the Obama administration and the Democratic Congress said, well, okay, we got to do something, but we can't do too much. We want to kind of keep what's there because most people like what they have. So they put in what I would call kind of a watered-down light version of a European system here, where the mandates simply aren't strong enough to make this do what a European system would do. You had the disingenuous promises, like if you like your plan, you can keep it. That was exposed as a lie. And you put in these weak mandates that immediately, within 2 years, the administration and members of Congress started saying, we can't enforce these mandates. We don't want to be fining our constituents. So they watered them all down, and you end up with the problem Jack has talked about for 6 years, which is this isn't going to work. You can't just insure the sick people and not make the healthy people buy insurance, which is effectively what Obamacare has done.
Since insurance is the pooling of risk, and those who lose, those who have bad health luck, the rest of us who've stayed healthy, that's fine. We made our bet, and you have our money. Now help the sick people.
Well, this leads into where it's going, because the people that got us where we are, they're not stupid. I mean, it's not complicated to figure out if only the sick people sign up, this isn't going to work out. So how did they think it was going to turn out, or where are they expecting it to go?
Well, I think it's, and it's something that we've heard conservative pundits on the news waves talk about for years, and that they wanted it to fail so that we could go single payer. And I think that's largely accurate, but I actually think there's a two-pronged approach, because there's a growing trend among some more left-leaning healthcare economists that are saying, oh, no, there's really 2 ways to fix it, right? One of them is, we could just go with a single-payer type Medicare and Medicaid for everybody system. That would be one way out of this mess. The other way out of this mess is to fix the 2 main things that are, I think, the biggest problems in Obamacare as far as getting people enrolled, and that's literally triple all the penalties and double the subsidies. Either one of those prongs is like turning a fire hose of money onto the burning pain until it stops. And either one of them, I think, would make the left particularly happy because you would get to universal health care.
But would be politically extremely difficult. I mean, virtually all of the bitter pills we had to swallow to make Obamacare work were canceled shortly after the mess passed because it's just so politically unappealing, actually asking people to pay for what they're getting.
I couldn't agree with that more. You passed these kind of sort of limp-wristed mandates back in 2009, 2010, and then immediately within 2 years, you had another election around the corner, and the government was going, whoa, we can't be fining 20 million Americans that might vote for us, so we need to water these mandates down. Well, what happens when you do that is the healthy and the young don't enroll, the sick and the old do enroll, and to beat a term to death that's been overused, the death spiral is occurring. I mean, you can't insure just the sick. It doesn't work.
Craig Gottwals, Craig the Obamacare lawyer, as we affectionately call him. And I like the last section of your notes about government programs don't work, waste your money, and don't care.
Yeah, lest anybody could hear this segment and think maybe more government's the answer, I want to leave you with two facts. Last year, the Government Accountability Office conducted an audit of the Obamacare exchanges. They created 18 fake people, and 17 of those 18 people were ultimately able to get subsidies and enroll in Obamacare. Of course, it made the news media, and of course, the people responsible for vetting these fake people said, well, we're going to do better. It's a new program. Of course, we'll do better. This is horrible. Well, the latest study is out. The GAO did it again this year. In 2016, they created 16 fake people. We're talking Social Security numbers that start with 3 zeros, or they're applying and they're submitting ID, like state ID cards that are expired. I mean, really obvious stuff. This year, the Government Accountability Office was able to enroll 16 out of 16 people, 100% efficacy in taking your taxpayer dollars.
Wow, because they just don't care.
0% fraud prevention.
Because they don't
0%.
care. They don't care. It's not. It's my money. Why do they care about my money?
No, it's not their money. That's just beautiful.
God, that is amazing. That is amazing.
So listen, in the roughly a minute we have left, Craig, and these are going to be wild guesses, my friends, so please do not hold Craig to them if he's even willing to play my parlor game. If Trump is elected, what happens?
America's great again. What do you not understand about this?
You solved America. I actually did a policy paper for a number of clients on the election, and if Hillary's elected, you get some doubling down on health care, and I think the Obamacare problems probably accelerate by 20 to 30%, frankly. If Clinton, that's Hillary, right? Trump is elected, I think you get a couple of moves in a better direction, and you maybe slow down the death spiral by 10 to 20%, but you're not getting either one of these. Neither one of them has the ideas, the kind of the revolutionary sort of thinking that you would need to do over a 10-year period to fix this thing.
And by the way, it's probably worth pointing out that certain provisions of Obamacare, insuring the uninsurable, letting kids stay on their parents' plans a little longer, et cetera, are very, very popular.
They're popular, and they're not bad in and of themselves. They just have to be coupled with the broccoli portions of the law that force us to pay for them.
Yeah, well said.
They haven't been. Yeah.
Which is why the government in general spends $1.35 for every dollar it takes in. We have $20 trillion of debt. The American voter does not want to pay the piper. It's just the truth about democracies. Craig Gottwals, Craig the Obamacare lawyer, if you need help with benefits and health care and what have you with your organization, your company, we can certainly hook you up with Craig. Just drop us a line. We'll have a link at ArmstrongandGettyRadio.com. Well broken down, Craig. Good to talk to you.
Excellent, gentlemen. Thank you.
Thank you.